these mics just on?
Yeah, I think so.
All the time. So when I laugh at Richard's terrible jokes,
They'll definitely catch it. Yeah.
Maybe they're in here somewhere.
What did you want?
Statements.
On my screen if you...
That's all right. I mean, I've read them all, so it's fine. Don't worry.
Okay, welcome everybody to the West of England Combined Authority meeting. Before I do introductions, I need to just do some formal stuff, which is about the evacuation procedure, as you'll understand. And then I'll move on to welcome, apologies, etc. So I have to read this out. I'm sorry that it's such riveting words. You'll be excited and enthused by what I'm saying, I know, but it is important, so please do listen. So in the event of a fire, please await directions from staff members who will help assist with evacuation. Please do not, and I say that again, do not return to the building until instructed to do so by the fire warden. So I think that's clear. Thank you for your cooperation in listening to that important message. Okay, first message. Well, look, first of all, welcome to people here, people online as well, to coming to today's meeting of the West of England Combined Authority. So I'm going to introduce some introductions now. So first of all, I'm Dan Norris, and I'd just like to quickly introduce the people who are here today. So Kevin Guy from Bath and North East Somerset Council. Just by the way, if people are wondering why I don't say Mayor and Councillor, it's because I'm a Quaker and we tend not to use titles, so don't be offended anybody, it's just that I'm not terribly into that. So Kevin Guy from Bath and North East Somerset Council, who obviously needs no introduction. Tony Dyer, neither did he need an introduction, from Bristol City Council. Welcome, Tony. And last but by no means least of the leaders, Ian Bolton, who again doesn't need an introduction, from South Gloucestershire Council. Lovely to see you, Ian, as well. To my left is Richard Bonner from the Local Enterprise Partnership Board, and he's a non-voting member of the committee and as always is very welcome. And we also have statutory officers who are present. So we've got Jerome Thomas, my old foe in the mayoral election. Nice to see you, Jerome. Hope you're well. And you are from the Overview and Scrutiny Committee today, I understand, Jerome. Nice to see you. And of course, Paula O'Rourke, who is here for the Audit Committee today. Welcome to you both. It's lovely to see you. Okay, the next item is item 2, declarations of interest. Now, committee members are asked to declare an interest. And I think, Ian, you've given indication that you want to say something, please. Yeah. So over to you.
Thank you, Dan. I do have a non-pecuniary interest in item 10 point recommendation 2, in that I am a member of the Visit West board, and so I will be absenting myself from that debate and won't be getting involved in that vote.
What item is that again, Ian?
That's item 10, recommendation 2.
10, rec 2. Thank you very much indeed. Ian, any other declarations interest on this side? Richard, I think you want to speak.
Yeah, no, thank you very much, Dan. Just wanted to know that under item 15, there was a passing reference to a list of organisations who are members of the professional service framework, and my company is one of those organisations. There are no recommendations for procurement today, so I don't believe there are any conflicts of interest in making my address on that particular point, and I will be speaking on behalf of the LEP.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that very much indeed, Richard. Appreciate that. Okay, so the next item is item 3, please. That's the minutes. The minutes of the meeting held on the 26th of July of this year have been attached for committee members to see. Are members happy to agree these as a true and correct record? I can see nods. Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you very much indeed. Appreciate that. Okay, item 4. So this is the chair's announcements, as in my announcement. So I'm pleased to announce the creation of the West of England Women Commission. The Commission will bring together partners to identify and address issues impacting women and girls in the West of England. I know the Commission is keen to engage with partners and that they will be in touch to talk more about their important work. This is something, having been brought up by a feminist mum, that I feel very strongly about. Women are the majority of the population, not a minority, and we won't have true equality till we don't have to have these kind of committees and structures. But until we get that equality, this is what we're going to do, and I think it will hold out a lot of hope for many people, not just women, but men too. and people of other genders. And it is important that we do that because when you see what's going on, particularly for women around the world, where some women cannot speak, are not part of their society, we mustn't just think that it's those countries that there are issues. There are issues in our country and in our region, and I'm very pleased to support this Women's Committee and look forward to working with them and doing the very best I can personally along with the Combined Authority to make them a success. I think it's a great opportunity and I think there's a lot of important work that needs to be done. So thank you for listening to me on that. Okay. Item 5, items from the public. Now, I understand that there have been 31 questions received in advance of this meeting from 17 different people. Responses to these questions will be circulated and published on the West of England Combined Authority's website. In addition, there were 29 statements received. These have been circulated to the committee, so thank you for putting forward those statements, and these will be published with the agenda papers on the Combined Authority's website. Some of the statement writers are here today, I'm pleased to say, and will be invited to speak shortly. There's a maximum time limit of 3 minutes per speaker, and I think Tim is going to give me the usual countdown thing, which is really helpful, so thank you, Tim. The following people have submitted statements, and I've been given the latest update. So I talked to Jackie on the way in. Jackie's going to make a statement. I'm very pleased to know she's going to be doing that. So over to you, Jackie. Thank you.
So first of all, I wanted to thank you for creating West Local. It's already having a transformational impact in the Chew Valley where you've allowed 2 routes, the X91 and the 99, to run. Here are some suggestions for what could be improved about the scheme, both for while it's running and also hopefully for afterwards when we want to continue these buses. The first thing is that we believe that local community groups need more support in running these, and what we've got 2 suggestions. One is that you allow community groups to employ a project manager to run the services. The second is that you give more resource to West Local so that they're more available to answer questions quickly and easily. The third is that you make really transparent the chain of command within West Local so we know who to speak to about what, and we're not faffing around talking to the wrong people and waiting for answers, etc. Particularly true in the comms area. The fourth thing is that we would like to look at the contract with you and to consider it being changed because it's not really fit for purpose for not-for-profit services as it stands. And also we don't have one yet. So that, there's issues there. The fifth point, which is what I mentioned on the way in, is people are changing from car to bus. That's great. That's what we're all about. But there are some people that are wary of doing that because they know that this is funding for 18 months and they're asking us already what's happening next. And so we would like to meet now with yourself or officers within your team, with people from Baines, and think about all the possible solutions to what happens next. Obviously, we're trying to make the services profitable. With the X91, I think we might manage that. With the 99, it's more tricky. We're doing a brilliant service of getting sixth formers to school, but they pay half price. So, there are various things that we could recommend about those 2 services going forward. The final thing is that in the questions, we asked in a question if the service could stop at Chewton Mendip. This is the service. You can see where it goes. My finger is
vaguely familiar to me.
My finger is on Chewton Mendip. The bus passes through Chewton Mendip. It has to, because the roads in the middle of the valley can't cope with a bus. Please will you let us stop there? Please will you let us pick people up there? We know it's in Somerset. We know Somerset is not what you prioritise, but we're passing through it, for goodness sake. Please let us stop. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Jackie. Well, look, I don't disagree with many of the points you're raising. This whole thing is new and innovative, but part of that is about learning. And you're learning and we're learning. But I think so far it's been a good relationship in the sense that we are doing things that have never happened before. I think it is getting the positive outcomes that we hoped, but there's still a lot to do. I know Alex is poised with his pen to write positive bus stories, so please do that, because I'm fed up with the ones that are always moaning about stuff when actually things are going pretty well in the round. There's just the specific details. So, Alex, I'm looking at you. You'll do your own thing, I know, but it'd be lovely to say, isn't it going well? What Jackie said, please talk to her, because there's some very positive stuff. And this is people power, after all, Jackie. This is the whole point of it, is that, you know, there isn't one solution for all the buses that we have right across the region. The challenges are too vast. Communities are different. They have different needs, different ways of doing things. And we want to cooperate and liaise about how we might do things better wherever you live in the west of England. And maybe we can get an arrangement where it's just slightly outside as well. But that is slightly difficult, because obviously I represent people for the west of England. I don't represent them in the area outside. But where there's a will, there's a way, Jackie. So who knows? We might get there. We might get there. All right. Thank you ever so much. Really appreciate that. Okay. Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Well done. Right. Now, is Amelia Melville here, please? Amelia, good to see you again. How are you? Off you go, please.
Hello, thank you. Is it working? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Great. And I can sit down? Is that fine?
You can do
Great.
whatever. Stand on your hands if you want.
That would be a challenge. So we very much welcomed your item number 14 on the agenda, which is a paper on bus improvement options.
Yeah.
Great to see that. And we don't really understand why that paper, which is essentially a budget proposal, couldn't have come to the committee at least a year, maybe 2 years ago, to propose doing this study looking at different bus options. It's really essential as well that all of the unitary authorities have a say in setting of the detailed terms of the study that's being proposed. Those haven't been detailed yet. And having a steering group of that process of doing the study that is comprised of all of the unitary authorities. The lack of a passenger transport executive has been a problem in the west of England since before the creation of Avon, as far as my understanding. I don't know why that didn't get set up at that point in time. We're now still suffering the consequences of it. And we're also aware that the process of setting that up will be a significant shift in power from unitary authorities to a Avon-wide, West of England-wide passenger transport executive. So that needs to be handled in a way that builds trust and is sensitive. We attended the first section of the WECA Overview and Scrutiny Committee on Monday, and really appreciated the input from Councillor Toby Wells, who laid out the history of the last 4 years of repeated promises to provide a report to say how complicated it is in this region. And we were expecting a report that would detail why it is specifically complicated, what the issues are, and so on. We've heard many reasons, including the lack of passenger transport executive, but there are others. And we were disappointed not to see a report that would give all of that information as set out with analysis from officers. But we hope that that will progress very quickly at this point. How am I for time? We've got 1 minute left. Great. I'm going to try and pick up the key points.
You can have a bit longer if you
read my statement, which has been sent. So it's crucial to sort out the governance. It means trust building between the unitary authorities. And as we see repeatedly in these meetings, there is a challenge with trust. Sometimes we hear you, Dan, saying, well, the unitary authorities aren't trusting me, so, I don't know whether that's a useful way of building trust, to publicly say that they're the ones who are not providing the trust. I know it's a very challenging governance wider context that you've stepped into. Similarly, you talk about your predecessor and how much improvement you've made on your predecessor. It's widely known that your predecessor didn't do very much at all.
It's a low bar, I agree.
Maybe you could make a slightly better role model to compare yourself to, rather than just saying, I'm doing better than this acknowledged very low bar.
I'm regretting giving you extra time now.
We really need to improve the bus services. There have been things that are working well. We definitely also celebrate good bus stories as part of our engagement, encouragement of people using buses, but we need to make progress on shifting the governance, and we can't just wait for national government to change the legislative situation. We need to take action so that we're ready when those things change, and so that we can actually get on with it, as Manchester has done, as Liverpool has done, as West Yorkshire, South Yorkshire, other places have actually made progress. So move faster.
Hello.
Are you part of the same, or are you the next person? Sorry.
Yeah, I'm Anna from Reclaim Our Buses.
Oh, okay, Anna. So before I call you then, Anna, can I thank you very much for your contribution? Can I say, look, of course we want to move quickly, but it's not been a surprise that we have had a general election. That has been, in the offing for a long time. We have known that there are likely to be quite a lot of significant changes, and indeed those changes are still being worked out, as you'll appreciate. And I do have a duty to make sure that our resources are used wisely and well. And so to do work knowing that it's probably 9/10 of it are going to have to be modified is a bit of a problem, because we don't have as much capacity as we would like. So look, we've had this discussion before. It's right that you ask me, and you do that in a public forum. And thank you very much for your contributions. Thanks for what you do to try and get the buses to where we all, I think, can agree we want them to be. A much better service that serves the people of our region in a more effective and efficient and cost-effective way. Okay, right. Anna, thank you very much for your patience. Thank you.
Hello. So I'm also here to discuss the bus improvements options paper. So Mr. Norris, both in March and in May, you assured us publicly that by September we would have a clear roadmap to resolve the long-standing issues with our bus system. Yet instead of a decisive plan, we've been handed an 8-page document that offers little more than a budget proposal. And after years of delays and wasted public money, we were expecting a comprehensive report aimed at driving real change, and now we're expected to wait again until 2025 for the prospect of tangible reform. And this is just unacceptable. The paper begins by highlighting the need for unitary authorities to fund a report. This, within the context of the best value notice, overlooks the prevailing collaborative issues between combined and unitary authorities. Our campaign has always maintained that the foundation of a comprehensive and cohesive bus system lies in these relationships. Yet what we witness is the continuation of division and finger-pointing. This was clearly displayed at Monday's Scrutiny meeting, when in response to a question of the best value notice, you again evaded accountability. The former Avon area region worked because it understood that people move across borders for work, education and leisure. Dividing transport policy along unitary authority lines is impractical and damaging. We must think regionally and act accordingly. It's time we had integrated thinking across rail, buses, cycling and pedestrian infrastructure for the entire West of England region. You must stop seeing the combined authority as a money pot, as you referred to it in March 2024, and rather see it as an authoritative body that leads. Furthermore, you've repeatedly cited the absence of precepting powers as a major barrier to securing sustainable transport funding. While we recognise the limitations of the council tax system, the introduction of these essential services without needing to rely entirely on without needing to rely entirely on the unitary authorities, which have shown reluctance to contribute meaningfully through a transport levy. Had a transport levy been introduced and developed 4 years ago, we would have made significant progress by now, but instead funds have been diverted into short-term election-driven schemes, quick fixes like the West Link, publicity stunts like the birthday bus pass, and the use of public money for self-promotion through your images on buses that don't solve the structural issues at hand. These initiatives might grab headlines, but they don't deliver lasting change. The establishment of a passenger transport executive is crucial and urgent. We welcome its mention in the paper, but we ask why it hasn't been prioritised and progressed earlier. It's a logical next step, not only for bus franchising, but providing proper oversight and governance of the entire transport network. The passenger transport executive should be clearly defined in its function, and it should be formed without delay. The paper should have marked significant progress towards bus franchising. It only brings further uncertainty and delays. As Councillor Toby Wells rightly points out on Monday's Scrutiny meeting, this paper could and should have been presented 2, if not 4 years ago. So today we reiterate his questions. What tangible actions have you taken in the last 4 years to improve our bus system and reform public transport? And why is it taking 4 years to even begin considering franchising when a region has already completed when other regions have already completed the process and are now reaping the rewards?
Okay, thank you very much indeed, Anna. Look, it couldn't have been 4 years ago because I wasn't mayor then, so I hope you forgive me and allow me not to be responsible for what happened then. And we heard about the high bar that I'm having to compare myself with that was going on then. Look, what I'd say is that we are different to other regions. The reason we have the challenges we have is because we're not the same as them. Now, you're talking about delay and how long things take, and I agree, it's never fast enough for me. I'm a very impatient person when it comes to delivery for the public. That's my job, is to try and get officers to deliver as quickly as they possibly can, as long as they're doing it properly and right. But Manchester, how long do you think they've been doing it? I mean, how many years do you think they've been doing theirs to get to where they are today? 30 years, maybe longer? Yeah. No, but they're getting to where they are. It's taken a hell of a long time. We've only been around as an organisation 7 years. So look, you're not comparing like with like, because we are different, and that's what devolution's about. It's about recognising the challenges in your own region and trying your best to address those. Well, you have a view about it, and I respect your view, because I'd like to see that outcome too, as it happens. In fact, I'd like to go further. I'd like to see state control, proper state control of transport, because I think it's a social service. It's that important. I think that franchising doesn't go far enough. So you and I disagree on that, but I have to live in the real world as the mayor. I have to make decisions and go work within the rules and all the rest of it, and I'm afraid it does take time. And I share your frustration about how long it is taking. But I can assure you that no stone is being left unturned in order to move it forward to get there, because we need it, okay? So I think that's the best I can say, but thank you very much for your comments. And I agree with you pretty much on most things. The one thing I don't agree with you on, though, is birthday buses, which is proving to be a phenomenal success, and you'll be hearing a lot about that soon. And I will come and talk to you so you can eat your words when it comes out, okay? Thank you very much. Right, who's next? Right, is Peggy Woodward here? Peggy. Hello, Peggy. I recognise you, Peggy.
Is this?
How are you doing?
My T-shirt. Is this on? Can you hear me?
I can hear you,
Yeah,
but
okay.
I'm not sure if it's going through the
I'm
mic
reading
system.
this on behalf of Bobby Oliver, who wrote the statement, but sadly isn't well. So,
Bobby, did you say?
Bobby Oliver.
Okay.
Yes,
Well,
she's put the statement
I'm sorry
in.
she's unwell, and please send her our best
So
wishes for her recovery.
So I'm a last-minute replacement. So.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. That's good of you to do that.
The long-awaited bus improvement options report turned out to be a major letdown, as we had waited so long for it, only to find it was a report looking into commissioning another report, which may or may not be approved today. This could have been started at least a year ago, and meanwhile the Weka area is struggling on with the enhanced partnership, page 24, with First Bus, which has resulted in non-profitable routes being cut. I hesitate to call them services. As someone who advises people on how to get around without a car when they can no longer drive, I find myself struggling to suggest buses, unless the person lives very near a major bus route, such as the Fishponds Road or Gloucester Road in North and East Bristol, for example. I can share one example of an older couple in Highridge in South Bristol who live in a part of an estate that is at the top of a hill. The woman has dementia and her husband still drives, although he recognises that he should think about giving up. They used to manage quite nicely when there was a bus that looped along their road. That has been stopped, and they cannot walk down or up the hill to their house, thus being forced into driving even to the local shops. We can't all move to flat ground when we reach our 80s. So there isn't a room in a hilly city like Bristol. If we're to increase bus usage, reducing emissions from single-occupant car use, there is a climate emergency, we need the buses to be there in the first place. The buses need to be run as services, not as an inconvenience to First Bus, which results in their profits being lost. The decline in services needs to be reversed as soon as possible before they are lost forever, and commissioning a report into the situation is just kicking the can down the line when time is not really what we have. The heads of 3 unitary authorities in Weka have long supported a move to franchising, so the political will is there. The new government says that it will make franchising easier for transport authorities to achieve where possible. But Dan Norris has always said that Weka has a difficult set of circumstances to contend with. And I'm wondering if his delay in commissioning reports into reports is a way of trying to say it's difficult, it won't work here in an official capacity. We need something that works for everyone, and we need it now. Finally, concessionary bus passes are extremely important to enable older and disabled people to travel by bus and community transport. I just wanted to remind people of this in case they are ever involved in any move to abolish them.
Thank you very, very much, Peggy, and for reading out Bobby's statement, doing that so well at the last notice. That's really good. I don't think I've got anything to say because we kind of talked about some of that already, but thank you very much, Bobby, if you're watching online, for your comments. Is Sylvia Sinclair here, please? Sylvia, welcome.
Good afternoon. I'm here today as a resident of Lower Lansdowne and as a member of the local Community Speedwatch team. I want to speak in support of the Baines Livable Neighbourhoods policy, and in particular the trial that is due to run in the Circus and Lower Lansdowne area. By way of background, I live in Lower Lansdowne with my family. Our home backs onto Cavendish Road, which is at the centre of the proposed LN scheme. In the 8 years that we have lived here, we have seen a significant increase in traffic using Cavendish Road as a cut-through and to bypass the main roads when travelling to and from the A46 and the M4. I have been very impressed with the extensive and well-publicised process of engagement and consultation that has been undertaken by the LN team to date. Local residents have been given many opportunities for engagement over a very long period of time. I also appreciate the LN team's understanding that the Circus and Lower Lansdowne area must be viewed in a holistic way as one linked scheme. With regards to the consultation, published outcomes show that residents in my area report that through traffic is the major issue they face, 68% of responses. In addition, a restriction on through traffic is by far the highest response given when asked what could be improved, 60% of responses. I can also confirm that at the workshop I attended, there was a lot of discussion about traffic reduction and calming measures across the whole area. There was also mention of modal filters on some roads, including Cavendish Road, as a way to restrict this through traffic. In summary, I accept that some residents may not wish for this trial to progress, and others may feel that the proposed design may not work. But as someone who lives on a street in the middle of the proposed scheme, and as someone who fully participated in the consultation process, I feel that the only way to find out is to run the trial. By running the trial, the Highways team can gather the evidence required to make an informed decision on whether to continue with the LN, whether to tweak it to make it better, or whether to abandon the entire linked scheme altogether. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sylvia. That was very clear and helpful. Thank you. Is Rosa Kell here, please? Where is Rosa? Rosa here? Okay, in case we've missed her or she's maybe gone to the bathroom or something, we'll jump on to Malcolm Baldwin and we'll see if Rosa turns up later. Malcolm, is Malcolm here? Can you put your hand up if you're around? Thank you, Malcolm. Appreciate that. Of course, Malcolm. Thank you very much for
difficulty hearing.
Yeah.
Thank you for the opportunity to come and talk about livable neighbourhoods. It's very much appreciated. I'll start with a quotation. We will continue with residents on designing and delivering meaningful improvements such as to rat running and speeding through our livable neighbourhood programme. The source, Bath and North East Somerset Lib Dem Election Manifesto 2023. So the Baines voters responded with an overwhelming majority for a political ethos in which the concept of the introduction of livable neighbourhoods into our city was more than implicit and part of a thorough and ongoing consultation. One other quick quotation. Local authorities will have my full support to roll out schemes. All local authorities that want to do this have my absolute support. Source, Secretary of State for Transport, Louise Haigh, August 2024. So we are up to date. All the above being said, there is no one-fits-all livable neighbourhood LN solution to significantly different areas of, for example, the City of Bath. For those of us who have supported the principle of LNs, we have a responsibility to listen to any expressed concerns, but also to fully explain the context relating to the introduction of any particular LN that we might support, for the context and priorities may indeed differ. The importance of the context relating to the implementation of LN traffic management interventions within my own circus area zone is not merely the icing on the cake of significant public realm improvements. Rather, such traffic management interventions are an essential ingredient within the overall and vitally necessary improvements to our particular area and our city's overall public realm. For us as a community, the debate about LNs has never been about mere traffic flow intervention measures, rather about a real vision of how we can make a positive difference to our local community, its residents, its visitors, and as a consequence to its local businesses and local important economy as a whole. This is the context of a meaningful and successful livable neighbourhood project. The difficulties, fast increasing to key heritage areas such as our own, require imaginative intervention and significantly improved resolution to the toxic mix of vastly increased local and visitor footfall alongside the rat-running traffic. Additionally, I'm coming to the end, my particular and very mixed demographic catchment area may not yet be suffering from over-tourism, although we are likely in some respects to be close to that point. Very finally, hence, when we look at the context of a particular LN implementation, priority to future-proof, not only for public health, climate or ecology criteria, but also for specific catchment area issues, remain an important ingredient and will reinforce the success of the Livable Neighbourhoods project, which we very much urge the West of England Combined Mayoral Authority to support.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Malcolm. Thank you very much. Can I just check, is Rosa Kell around? Is Rosa about? Yes, no, I'm just checking because we asked Rosa and she didn't turn up. Okay, so now I think it's Ceres. Is it? Have I got to pronounce the name properly? Humphreys? Keris?
It's Keris.
Keris. Apologies, Keris.
I'm here as...
Where are you, Keris? I can't see you. Oh, right. Okay, thank you.
I'm here as a resident to talk about the Baines Livable Neighbourhood Trials too. I live quite near the current ETR trial in Bathwick, but not in the ETRO area itself. The LM process started over 3 years ago with several rounds of consultation. The input by local residents is important, but I want to acknowledge the importance of that input being translated into technically appropriate measures. The Sydney Road LN was a great example of this, where the engineers remodelled a junction with the main road on entry to the LN, resulting in much needed traffic calming on the main road, as well as a safer crossing experience for children from 2 nearby schools. Not all drivers are happy to be forced to drive within speed limits, but politicians should not have to apologise for making roads safer for more vulnerable users. Attempts are made for years to enforce speed and weight limits on Sydney Road, all unsuccessful. It's regrettable some public commentary from people who chose not to participate in earlier parts of the process is based on poor understanding of the process and objectives, seeking to single out and blame some residents for some perceived disadvantage. But I want to say it really isn't just about residents. As someone who doesn't live there but uses it many times a week, these are the people I see benefiting, once, occasionally or daily. Many people of all ages just walking, jogging and cycling up and down the road. Tourists on their way into Bath from the hotel and the many local holiday lets. People crossing from the Upper Park entrance to a major hotel, Shamcastle Lane or the Canal, accessing so many key city walks used by both locals and tourists. School kids, tourists and local residents crossing Sydney Road between the Upper Park steps towards North Road, location of Kes School. People using the park entrance on New Sydney Place, a connecting route between the park and any of the local church, Sydney Mews and the city centre, high footfall pedestrian routes used by many groups, playground users, tourists, Holborn Museum or cafe visitors, students and others. Kids enjoying safer access for multiple summer events in the park, including Mr. Doodle exhibition and events, carnival, summer theatre, forest school and many more. Tourists and Bridgerton fans enjoying the very special architecture and history of New Sydney Place. These people represent the much wider community that need and deserve to have these safer walking routes. Since the ETO trials started, I no longer see elderly people with walking aids too scared to cross the road until someone stops the traffic for them. HGVs flouting the weight limit, and no one has been knocked over by a car, all of which happened in the 18 months before the trial. I hope the trial will be a success, opening up the possibility of further improvements, such as a much-needed pedestrian crossing on Beckford Road and other pedestrian improvements to local main road junctions. We can't expect more people to walk without making it safer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Keris. Can I just ask you for my education, Mr. Doodle, what is, as beyond my experience, what is Mr. Doodle?
Well, you really should know that, because Mr. Doodle, I believe, is a Bristol ex-student who was at UE, I think, I might be wrong, someone will correct me, who is an artist with a particular appeal to children. He doodles. Come to Bath, you'll see some of his work.
Hence his name. Right. Thank you very much, Keris. Appreciate that. It's always nice to learn something new. Did anyone else know Mr. Doodle? Good. Well done. I stand corrected, and I will go and find out about Mr. Doodle now. That's really good. Okay. Thank you very much, Keris. I appreciate that. Okay. I think now here's someone who definitely needs no introduction. David Redgewell. David Redgewell. Well done.
Thank you. So I speak as the representative of the Bus Advisory Panel, Mr. Mayor. Now I now understand now what's going on. The lady who chairs that panel has resigned and is no longer with us, from Linda from Transport Focus. So I just put to you today, we need to find a new chair. I'm very pleased you've appointed Councillor Haidad to the Western Gateway. Excellent choice. Perhaps you could appoint him to the Bus Advisory Panel on board, so we've got somebody leading that panel. So it needs sorting, because we're all writing to somebody who's bouncing back stuff. So the issues there are, we didn't have a meeting before June, as you know. So there was a number of bus service changes that happened, many of which I would never have voted for as one of your members, including the buses, I'll be honest with you, in the Chipping Sodbury Gate area that first changed and withdrew without panel approval. That's quite serious, because we're UK government funded, you've got a lot of money, and we have to take everything to panel to make sure that we are supportive. And the pastures would have said no to that, to be fair. Chipping Sodbury serves a bus service to Bristol. It's a big town, it's Cotswold Gateway, and we need to work on that. And
I went to school there, David.
Exactly. Well, this is the point.
Yeah.
So that's my first point. The second point is I have a message from the Gloucester County Council. I think they've written to you. If we can have a conversation with them in South Gloucester about the cross-border buses. It's the same point that Jack is making with Somerset. I must admit, your relationship with Somerset is excellent. The bus service improvements in Somerset have been tremendous in terms of both in Baines, North Somerset, and cross-border to Taunton, Yeovil. The amount of destinations you've now gone by bus across Somerset, which WECA funds into the county of Somerset jointly, is very, very good, to be honest, and into Wiltshire. So we need to sort out the Gloucestershire thing in a conversation and see what we can do. They've doubled their money today, they've told me in an email. So there's some money on the table for the Chief Exec to pick up, and to look at what we can do with Gloucestershire on the missing link between Stroud and Stroud and Yates.
David, I've been told that letter has arrived today, so I haven't seen it, but it has arrived today.
Okay, fine. I'm sure you'll deal with it, because
Sure.
I know Councillor David Drew is very involved in it, and the MP for Stroud.
Well, of course I know, David.
So, appreciate that. So therefore, there's some good news stories. It's not all bad news. West locals are very good. There are a couple of ones that we're concerned about. The 61, which doesn't go into Avon Meads, and I can't get there because a wheelchair from you were the member there, Dan. I don't think Sandy Park Road is near Avon Meads in Brislington, so it's just impossible. So perhaps the Avon Mead thing could be looked at. And on rail, and the other one is the Y8. On rail, there's some good news stories. We actually got at Malcolm Parsons, it's very, very good. And we're getting Ashley Down opened on Saturday, officially open on Friday. And then there's also the need for the Portishead line to push with the government, and also push Charfield, and also be pushing the Henbury line. And we need, Ian, planning permission, please, for Henbury Station. So absolutely, the rail story is excellent. I think buses will take longer because we need legislation to go through in terms of franchising. That's not in the House. You know, people may say it, but that is not even a bill I'm looking at the moment. And we cover with what the new Labour government wants to put in place. Finally, I do welcome North Somerset Council's application for membership to this organisation, which went up to their executive on Tuesday, and I hope that gets progressed with Angela Rayner. Devolution deals are on the big way forward. I do welcome your new engagement with Western Gateway. I think Western Gateway and WECA need to work very closely together, and I hope you also will be able to find a new a new director or manager to look after the public transport team, because that's a post that hasn't been filled since Peter Mann was in place. But I do welcome all the work that Kevin and Stephen and the team are doing to turn this organisation around as a positive way forward. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Okay, is Gary Baird here, please? Gary? Where are you, Gary? Oh, hello. Thank you, Gary.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Very good afternoon to you. Well, I ain't got much to say really, apart from I think David said it all. Obviously the bus cuts was back with the 1st of September, with the white one obviously being cut off from Chipping Sudbury, which I thought was quite appalling, because obviously there's no connection from Chipping Sudbury T8, and also the 19 service obviously, which runs from Bath through to University West of England via Kingswood and Staple Hill. There's no service after 7 o'clock in the evening, and students still need to get home. Apart from the 73, which I believe now routes have swapped round, where the 74 used to go up to Ewing, now the 74 now goes to Bristol Parkway Station and Stoke Gifford, and the 73 now goes to UWE, which I still can't figure out how they managed to do that, but there we are. And also the 43 service to Bishopsworth Library. It's not a bad idea, but it could extend to High Ridge Common and serve the people up there, where you got the 75 and 76s, which they run literally all day and all night, literally to 24/7. So to get to Bishopsworth is not a problem. You can also get literally the M1 basically and get off by Parsons Street. But the 43, that's not, yes, it is a good idea, but it needs to go further. It needs to go to High Ridge Common, and also, and the 84 and 85, which was withdrawn and scrapped altogether from Whitmore, Charfield and Wootton Under Edge. People can't get out. And Westlink, we tried to order a Westlink minibus last Friday, me and David, to go to a funeral to pay our respects to Laura Welty. And there was nothing available, Westlink, and we had to get a taxi. And apparently, we believe that they're doing school transport services. Well, I think that's shocking, because Westlink is a minibus provider, which, really speaking, should be serving rural communities, to take people to hospitals, to doctor surgeries, to appointments, to shopping. Not ferry school kids around. If they want contracts to do that, that's fair enough. But as for the 19 service, from Bristol Parkway in the evening and from UWE, there's nothing after 7 o'clock, and so students can't get home, they can't get to major railway stations, they can't get across the other city to Bath, or to Kingswood or to Staple Hill. And, the bus services, they need a good shake-up, they need to be sorted out. The Y1 needs to be put back. They got the Y6, but that's only running every 90 minutes, and every single journey on that does not go into Chipping Sudbury. So, it needs a good shake-up. It needs to get back to how it was, and to run buses basically all through the evening after 7 o'clock, and also the 43, obviously, to go to High Ridge Common.
Thank you very much, Gary. Really appreciate that. That's good of you. Is Martin Tucker here, please? Martin. Hello, Martin. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Martin Tucker. I'm the retired mayor from Wootton Under Edge and retired president of the Chamber of Trade. And what I'd like to ask is, what review will be undertaken about the removal of the funding from the 84 and 85 bus? If there is a review, will it include the Westlink minibus service, which is causing so many issues? The bus has now been removed for 20 days, and already local businesses have been seeing a big downturn in trade, with businesses talking about selling up.
Can I just stop you there, Martin? Which local businesses is this? Is this in the west of England or in Wootton Under Edge?
They're in Wootton Under Edge.
Okay, so not in my patch. Okay.
No, your neighbours.
Yeah.
This will adversely affect not just the people in Wootton, but also people in surrounding towns and villages. Does the Mayor feel that this is being properly assessed, and when funding was removed, as it directly affects Wecker's residents and people who vote for the Mayor? I would implore the Mayor to attend a joint meeting with Gloucester County Council, South Gloucester County Council and his own transport team to fully discuss this situation. As leader of the Transport Authority, he owes it to his constituents and neighbours to fully understand the impact the decision has been made by the committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Martin. Okay. Well, look, Martin, we constantly review things all the time, constant discussions by my officers all the time. Unfortunately, the rules, as they stand, are not fit for purpose, and I've spoken about this on previous meetings, and you may have heard them and heard what I've said. It is certainly something that needs a solution, because we heard from Jackie at the very beginning that there was a situation where they wanted to be able to do something in Somerset, again, not in the west of England, and it does create difficulties. But you'd think, wouldn't you, with something like transport where it moves around, there may be some kind of rulings or rules that we could get into existence that would allow some degree of flexibility, cooperation, because these are lines on maps, really, human-made things, rather than about human beings wherever they live, because what they just want is good bus services and to get around, don't they? So look, I continue to try and get that change. I could have a whole lot of extra meetings, although they do happen anyway, about all sorts of things, but I don't think it will fundamentally change the situation, because I'm elected and accountable and responsible to the voters of the west of England, not the communities beyond, even if I'm sympathetic. So that is just the reality of the situation. But you make some good points, and I'm not unsympathetic, actually, but we need to deal with this in a way that's meaningful and proper, and I don't want to give false hope, because it's kind of above our pay grade, this. It needs some decisions made elsewhere, but I will certainly be trying to get those decisions made. Okay? Thank you anyway. Thank you for being so clear. All right. Georgia Statham. Georgia, how are you?
Hi, good, thank you. I'm actually Nushka. I'm here to speak on behalf of Georgia and as a representative of MEDACT.
Say your name again for me.
Nushka.
Nushka, okay.
Nushka. Georgia and I are part of the Bristol branch of MEDACT, which is a national charity of health workers campaigning for health and social justice. And we have previously spoken at WECA meetings, urging you as a representatives to find solutions to the current bus crisis. We have submitted the statement yesterday, and I just wanted to highlight a few key points, which have also been raised in the statement. There is a national commitment to bus franchising, as laid out by the King's Speech, as well as local demand for an improved bus service. We need an effective timeline that leads to an improved transport system, likely a franchised model. We are aware that this is not a silver bullet solution, but we strongly believe that this is a valuable step towards regaining more control and regulation of the bus system in a way that better serves the need of our communities. Franchising could improve services by increasing democratic control over prices and routes, ultimately improving the health of citizens by reducing air pollution, decreasing vehicle collisions, improving access to essential services, and reducing isolation. We would like to ask you, what is WECA doing to meet this national and local goal? The other key point that we wanted to raise is that the current bus system is inappropriate to meet the needs of our communities. It is failing people, particularly who need to use the bus services to go to work, to go on placements, and is especially affecting the needs of our most vulnerable individuals, such as young people, the elderly, and people with accessibility issues, as we heard today as well. How is WECA assuring that any changes to the transport system will be equitable and will meet the needs of our communities, and will keep those in mind? The other, from the health aspect, we wanted to raise that the current levels of air pollution are unacceptable in many parts of Bristol. This is resulting in more than 300 avoidable deaths a year. This is a direct result of an inadequate public transport system that does not match the needs of many of our residents. How is WECA addressing these pressing health issues as part of your bus transformation? Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Anushka, for speaking on behalf of Georgia. I think I've dealt with the first part, but let's talk about the health thing, because that, I think, is new to today's meeting. Look, I couldn't agree more. There are 300 avoidable deaths that happen annually because of pollution. We know that there have been initiatives starting in Bath and subsequently in Bristol, which are making a difference, as I understand it, and there are quite positive feedback from that, although it's quite hard to make very clear-cut conclusions, because obviously the pandemic has impacted, and we're not sure if that's part of the reason why the things have improved. But I'm sure the schemes are helping nonetheless. In answer to your question, what are we doing? We're doing everything we possibly can, because that's our job, and we will continue to do that. And thank you for your comments. I really appreciate that on behalf of Georgia. And I don't know why she wasn't here, but send her our best. Okay. She's at work. Well, that's a very important thing. You've got to pay your bills, haven't you? And you need to work in consequence. Of course. Thank you ever so much indeed. Okay. Is there anybody else that I've missed out? Okay. Have you put on the list? Okay, and you, yeah, well, look, we'll do the both of you. Please stick to the time limit, though, because they'll chuck me out before the building shuts, otherwise. Okay.
Thank you. Christina Biggs, speaker on behalf of the Bristol Rail Campaign, which is a new name for Fosborough. So first of all, we're delighted that Ashley Down Station is opening. And we'll be running our own event on Saturday morning for the first public service, which you're welcome to come to. I think the only thing about Ashley Down is it's just going to be an hourly service. It would be lovely to include some of the other stops on going up Filton Bank. Also, we've been brought to attention that Stapleton Road and Lawrence Hill, at the moment, the only way to travel north is to go south of Temple Meads and then change, go back. Mm-hmm. So we'd like to see if you could possibly negotiate Gloucester services or maybe Cardiff to throw in a couple of extra stops going northwards. I just wanted to also go into bat for Tim Bowles, because actually he was our rail champion in that he got Metrorail Phase 2 to extend to Westbury, which is something we hadn't hoped to think of, and now it's going off over to Salisbury, which is where my mum lives. So, I'm not going to. He's a good guy. Anyway, so Portishead, thank you for comments on Monday, and we're just going to help you just go into bat on that one. It did occur to me that I'm wondering if we could update the monetisation of carbon and pollution. There must be a way to log, the fact that huge savings in emissions and pollution by having a railway line to Portishead. Tram trains, just to say there are tram trains happening in Cardiff. So the Future for West programme, I think would be really good to consider that for the kind of sheer seamlessness of it. And there's a lovely map that we've drawn for you in the statements, which would take you from Hicksgate through to Bristol Airport, East Bristol to Thornbury. And then finally, on rail bus, Charfield, good to get a bus going there. And we like our bus gates in Bristol, and I really hope the Bath thing really happens. There's only one thing, Ashley Down, we just need one more bus stop on Charlton Road going south. That'd be lovely, thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Okay, and last but not least, sorry you weren't on the list, I don't know what happened there.
I was late.
Okay,
so
okay.
My apologies.
We're giving you some discretion.
Thank you very much. I'm not going to take 3 minutes. I'm just going to speak on a couple of points in my statement and also respond to the responses that I got for my questions. And one of them is about the number 10 bus, yet again. I was hoping I wouldn't have to come back on this one. I do wonder why Stagecoach would make a decision to withdraw a service from a part of the city where there is a great need for it, without actually referring it back to the commissioning body yourselves. This is what I've been told would have happened. I'd also just go back to what was said about minicabs charging Westlink users who have got concessionary travel cards, who are travelling within the hours their travel cards are valid, and are being told by minicab drivers that they still have to pay £2. Please can somebody make sure that is not happening, because there are some people, vulnerable people, who will not be able to get in those services. They're now worried that they're going to get charged. And then just a couple of comments on the other part of the statement, which was about the bus improvement report. Just to reiterate my comments about rail, making sure that rail is continually referred to in the report. You can't run buses in Bristol without supporting rail service and vice versa. and then also the People's Passenger Transport Executive. I think it's really important that we start, as you say, this is a new idea for this area, but it's been done all over the country. Why don't we start by getting every organisation, a campaigning organisation, a community group, and any other interested bus or train user involved with setting this thing up? Don't rely on your KPMGs or whoever else it is who get paid hundreds of thousands of pounds a year to write reports about buses that they never travel on. Please let the people enter into the discussions right from the word go. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very, very much for that impassioned speech and comments. They are noted. I understand the concessionary bit that you raised quite rightly is something my officers are already aware of and on to. So hopefully there'll be some change before too long. Okay, thank you ever so much. All right, thank you everybody who's made a contribution today. Really appreciate that. I know it's a brave thing to get up and speak in front of people, and we really do appreciate it because we don't want to just totally rely on KPMG. We want to hear a bit more about what's going on in the world. So thank you very much for your contributions. Okay, right, moving on now to item 6, which are comments from the Chair of the West of England Local Enterprise Partnership Board, Richard Bonner.
Thank you very much, Chair. And just to start, to say thank you to the Mayor, leaders and your officers for bringing forward a very full programme for today. It does mean I will have a few things to say, but there's a lot to commend to the programme, so thank you. Just wanted to talk briefly about the local growth plan. Obviously, work's been going on since the new government to bring a proposal forwards, and we just wanted to record that the LEP over many years have created significant value to the various different strategies across the region, and we will in due course welcome discussions about the local growth plan so that with the wider business community we can create the joint momentum that means businesses can thrive and deliver the outcomes that we want for the region. With regards to the investment fund, we're very pleased to see the work that has been done to bring a proposal, a 4-year proposal forward for Visit West. It's a leading organisation in the country. It's our area destination management service that delivers our destination management plan. And alongside other services across the region, IBB and Culture West, we believe that this creates much more synergy that helps us to put the area firmly on the national and international map to contribute towards our economic success. So thank you for embracing Visit West. We noticed that there are a number of CRSTS proposals, about £50 million worth of proposals across 3 schemes. What we're very pleased to see, and we talked about it at the last committee meeting, that we're trying to over-programme so that we are ensuring that we maximise the funds spent before the deadline in March 2027. And I would like to thank officers for all your hard work in bringing those proposals forwards. We were very incredibly pleased to see the scaling for the Investment and Climate for Nature proposal. I think that is a really innovative paper. We have seen the challenges in all of our areas of how we deal with net zero, climate adaptation, and the issues associated with the lack of public funding to address those challenges. So creating an opportunity to bring private sector investment in is going to be, I think, very helpful for us. It seems to be a very innovative solution, something that we're famous for. So we're really pleased to see that, and we hope that that will be secured and taken forwards. We notice that there is an update on the best value notice and that the work on the transformation programme continues and that we're making good progress through the programme. And majority of the actions I think are now delivering resolution and are closed. We understand that the Independent Improvement Panel met very recently. They had their first formal meeting, and we look forward to further updates from the panel in due course. But to get that process moving, I think secures with government a sense that we're moving in the right direction. We've heard a lot about public transport and the bus improvement options. Clearly, we know from residents this is one of the challenging issues for our area, and it's always pleasing to hear from the members of the public. It affects the business community being able to move around as well. And we just support the further and ongoing opportunities for creating a transport executive body and the next phase of bus reform. We have heard how important that is. With regards to the transport infrastructure projects, of course, we've stated before it's a long-standing issue for the business community more generally, particularly, not just the big businesses, but the SMEs, that we have the transport projects that are vital to encourage the growth and deal with the inequalities that exist across the region. We want to fulfil our potential. So proposals coming forward today for West Rapid Transit to create the OBC are really, really important. I just wanted to make the point, because I'd seen some concerns about the duration of some of those programmes. And we do recognise, Dan, that actually to go through the Treasury and the Department for Transport proposals to bring forward investable proposals takes a long time. So please do bear with officers in the duration some of these things take. We want to do the work thoroughly, properly, and to create the right investable propositions. And so it's pleasing to see that we have a recommendation to release the next amount of money. Also, with regards to the integrated mobility service, again, it's an integral part of our proposals, and the opportunity for delegated authority to enable the next round of activity is important. And then just finally onto the budget, we know that the combined authority continues to ensure that delivery is a key focus. You make that point at all of our meetings. It's good to see that we're updating on the efficiency and effectiveness of the review that's taken place, and that we're seeking engagement with officers, with residents and other stakeholders to ensure that we're getting the best possible value from the monies and funds that we have available. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Richard, for giving us the business world's view of it. And you'd think I'd immediately be going for the trade unions view, but I'm going to Jerome instead, because we don't have somebody on the board from the trade unions for some reason. Perhaps we need to think about that. Jerome, you're very welcome. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Over to you.
Yep. So there's a written statement, and I'll summarise that. So we welcomed your presence at the scrutiny meeting on Monday, and particularly answering questions which you hadn't been supplied in advance. So opening up to that. We also noted the committee noted the Solis follow-up independent review of June 24, and that there were significant improvements that had been made, but that there was still some way further to go. Particularly the system of using the red box, which they described as not fit for purpose, but which you seem very attached to. And so, whether there are ways of supplementing the red box with some sort of practical communication measures to bring about the kind of improvements that Solis were looking for would be a good thing to be working on. Also noted that they said little progress has been made to revisit and clarify the core purpose of the West of England Combined Authority. So, if there was a way to build that into the work programme, that would be really good, because I think getting that more cohesive approach would help everybody. On other matters, a constant bugbear is the time frame in which the scrutiny committee receives papers. So we receive papers on the Friday, and these packs are often 300 pages long, with a scrutiny meeting on the Monday morning. So particularly for people with family commitments or a personal life, that they don't have time really to engage properly with that, and bringing back that when people can get papers, and also kind of releasing papers as they become ready, so that people can look at them and can contribute more practically to that scrutiny process would be helpful. The Green Growth Fund was welcomed, and it was noted that there are plenty of good examples elsewhere around the country of kind of precedents for this. So, using the opportunity to learn from those would be very good. Welcoming the passenger transport executive feasibility study and the franchising studies, and echoing the kind of concerns that we've heard in the room about how little progress has been made in the area of franchising or best delivery of transport. I did note that you said that you would be happy to release those, that research which had been done, because clearly there has been research that's been done to date behind the scenes, and if it's possible to share that would be much appreciated, because at the moment we're operating very much in a vacuum as to the investment that's already taking place in exploring those options. echoed the concerns that Dave Redgewell expressed about the lack of visibility on the bus service improvement plan and the lack of consultation and communication. So, getting named responsibility around that so that we know who we can talk to in the authority to make sure that communication and consultation is there would be really helpful. So, yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Jerome. Really appreciate all those points, and I'm not unsympathetic to many of them. In terms of the red box system, it's something the British government have been doing for 300, 400 years, however long it is.
Yeah, it's like the House of
So,
Lords,
I just think it's a very good system. It's very clear who said what and when and what's expected. It's an important thing, and we must hope that Solace aren't analysing the British government's red box system, mustn't we, on that basis?
Yeah,
okay.
Just slight additional measures to complement
Yeah,
it.
we can always get things better, whoever we are, and I completely agree with that. Thank you very much, Jerome. Right, Paula, welcome. You're going to speak on behalf of the Audit Committee. Thank you.
David's written his statement from the Audit Committee, which met on the 9th of September. 9 elected members and one of the independent members met that day. And during that meeting, we had a review of the Grant Thornton's Governance Value for Money 2022-23 report. Committee members engaged in a rigorous discussion regarding the 6 key and the 3 statutory recommendations arising from the value for money thing. So the areas are programme and financial governance, culture and behaviours, partner relationships, and the implications for the improvement journey. The committee acknowledged some progress in addressing these recommendations, but we aligned with the external auditors in recognising the very substantial efforts and changes in behaviour are required if the combined authority is to comply with its governance objectives. The external auditor, Grant Thornton, also presented its annual report for 22-23, and while acknowledging that items on the value for money report are still ongoing, it was happy that the combined authority's financial sustainability. The committee was given a verbal update on the final statement of accounts for 23-24. The additional audit meeting and an additional audit meeting will be scheduled for September 30th to consider these accounts. And it is hoped then at that date that the auditor's final report for 23-24 will also be available. Malcolm Parsons gave a verbal update on the status of the City Regional Sustainable Transport Settlement Project. Some concern was expressed upon examining the corporate risk report about the unitary authority's ability to deliver the CRSTS project by March 2027, when the money would have to be returned. A written report will be presented at an upcoming audit committee on this. The committee members considered reports on the non-treasury investment strategy and treasury management monitoring. Concern was expressed about the level of non-treasury investments, which should be capped at 19.5 million, with the combined authority committee approval. The committee approved the strategy and noted the management monitoring report. The committee also noted the work of the internal audit team, which covered 36 separate work areas. And finally, the committee noted the progress on the combined authority's transformation programme and actions to support the best value notice. The chairs of the scrutiny and audit committees have offered to meet with the chair of the independent improvement panel to brief them on the programme. That's the end of David's statement. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paula. Really appreciate that. Okay, in that case, we now move to item 9. That's the local growth plans, if I can speak properly. Now, the new government has made growth, understandably, a key priority and has asked us to prepare a local growth plan. The plan will lay out 5 key areas to drive growth. These are, first of all, establishing a West of England employment service. Secondly, to turbocharge our retrofit sector. Thirdly, to build our strength in innovation and high tech, which obviously an area we're already strong in. Fourthly, harnessing innovation, including AI and quantum computing and creative, which again are areas we're already very strong in, but we can do a lot better, I believe. And finally, making the West of England a superpower for green energy generation. The aim is to submit the full plan to government next year. So I therefore move the report. Can I call for a seconder, please? Is there a seconder? Tony.
To second, reserve my remarks.
Okay, thank you. In that case, do any members wish to speak to this item? Ian, thank you.
Thank you, Dan. This is really good news for us. Really welcome the work that has been going on to this, and also welcome the collaboration that has taken place between officers in the Combined Authority and the Unitary Authorities to produce the Emerging Priorities document. It was co-produced at speed, but not in haste, I have to say, in 4 days, which is a remarkable achievement and really shows the dedication that everyone has demonstrated towards the Emerging Priorities document. So thank you to everyone that's been involved in that. I welcome the recommendation, and I'll quote this, to ensure the active partnership of each unitary authority in developing a plan which meets the needs of the West of England. That's something that is really important and is just shows it's just indicative of the relationship we're developing. I'd like to specifically request, though, that our executive members or portfolio holders are actively involved in the engagement process through that. I think that will add even more value to the process. A few points about South Gloucestershire. The West Innovation Arc, which is a working title, I think it's fair to say. We have the confusion that the north fringe of Bristol is the south fringe of South Gloucestershire, but it's an important, I think, a key element to the west of England. It includes the UK's major aerospace research and development cluster, the Bristol and Bath Science Park, the National Composite Centre, IAPS, and the Isambard AI supercomputer. The zone incorporates many of our regional capacities, supporting the transition to net zero and the creation of green jobs, alongside major housing developments at Brabazon, which is obviously one of the largest brownfield development sites in the country and really does have the potential to deliver many thousands of new homes, with the arena as well being a key part of that, and millions of feet of commercial floor space. There are going to be parks, we've got the new railway station, and it really is a city centre scale development which needs the appropriate infrastructure investment, particularly with the transport infrastructure and energy grid connections. That's going to be really important with our developing economy here. We must and absolutely intend to work in partnership to realise the potential for this area, which is, as the Emerging Priorities document states on page 30, the region's major growth zone. On the East Fringe, in co-producing the growth plan, I wonder if we should also consider extending the innovation zone along the East Fringe of Bristol, along the Avon Ring Road, as this is where the South Gloucestershire Emerging Local Plan seeks to allocate around 4,300 new homes and 25 hectares of new employment land, which will be connecting through to Hicksgate in Bath and North East Somerset, right through to South Bristol. It really is a key point of that jigsaw. And the UA's emerging local plans, which identify the region's new housing and employment land allocations, must be an important consideration in the development of this regional growth plan. And then we have the Severn Estuary Growth Zone, which covers Avonmouth and Sevenside. It is a globally significant enterprise zone with strengths in net zero energy transition and logistics. I was there only yesterday. Its location has significant potential for economic growth and huge potential for decarbonisation, and will play a key part in contributing to our growing regional green economy. But we need to continue to work together to deliver the infrastructure to realise its potential. And then the final point is Albury, and again, I welcome reference to Albury in the growth zone map on page 30. Albury Power Station is obviously a site of national importance, and having recently been bought by government is of something that is certainly on their radar. The Western Gateway promotion of the site alongside Berkeley, which is just north of our border in Stroud, represents an opportunity for the West to lead the UK, not just in this first-of-a-kind energy production, but also in research and development, skills and training. So just to summarise, the Regional Growth Plan presents an exciting and genuine opportunity for collaboration between all of us at a strategic level, and it will be important to ensure the priorities of the combined authority, that they align with the priorities of the unitary authorities for the betterment of our region and all of our residents. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ian. And just before I get loads of letters and emails coming in from people who have been in the aerospace industry, it's not just in the country our aerospace is huge, it's the biggest outside of the USA. So let's put it in context, it's a massive, massive thing. Tony or Kevin, I don't know which one of you wants to go first. It's entirely up to you. You've both indicated. Tony.
All right, thank you very much. I'm not going to talk through an advertising document for the whole of Worcester. But well done for Ian
Go
for doing
on,
so.
do it.
But
I got there first.
You did. I think, just to support what Ian was saying about, this is a crucial document for the reason, and we welcome the work that's gone into it. And we would like to encourage a full programme of engagement with unitary authority executive members, officers and partners as the plans develop and we work with your team going forward. Obviously, we want to ensure any growth is both sustainable and inclusive, and that as well as focusing on our key sector strengths across the region. We hope that we can continue to focus on those issues that currently constrain our productivity, in particular housing and transport. Those factors are key if we want to reduce inequalities, not just in Worcester, but across the entire region. And we need to tackle out those levels of deprivation, those pockets of deprivation that continue to thwart our abilities to bring everybody up to the standard of living that we need everybody to be in to be a really successful region. And what I will also say, I just want to make a case where obviously we have the Temper Quarter joint venture. I was lucky enough to be at the opening of the eastern entrance to Temper Meads, which now unfortunately we have to close again because we're waiting for the university campus to be finished, which is so much better looking than the old post office sorting station that used to be there. And that was a low bar, but we're getting there. And what I also just want to say is to make a case, even though it's not in one of the local growth areas, but we should not forget that South Worcester has large areas of deprivation, isolation, and that it is mentioned throughout the document and name-checked, and I welcome that, but it is a key area that, if South Worcester thrives, the West of Worcester thrives, and if the West of Worcester thrives, this entire region will thrive. Thank you.
I agree, Tony. And we don't hold Tim Bowles responsible for the old sports sorting office too. He's just for the record, so everyone knows. You're right, he's a nice man, and we don't want to always be negative about things. Okay, thank you very much, Tony. Important points, especially about the importance of Bristol South. Often forgotten, but I hope you agree it hasn't been forgotten in this plan. Thank you. Kevin.
Thank you, Daniel. I also won't go through a long list of areas for improvement in Baines, but I will briefly mention the Summer Valley Enterprise Zone. As part of a quality growth plan, you need to create the right jobs in the right places, and I applaud this paper because we know the climate emergency is the most important thing that we're facing, and being a centre for green growth in the country and hopefully for Europe as well is a great ambition for our region, and I fully support this. The way this report has been put together is an excellent example of how local authorities and the combined authority can work together at speed and at quality. And I know everyone is aware of the best value panel that we're going through, and I think this could be an example to put to that panel over the next months and year of how well we can work together and how we can collaboratively put together a quality report which does benefit not just the people now, but in 10, 20, 30, 40 years' time. So yes, I commend the report. Well done.
Thank you, Kevin, and thanks for those comments, because I think it is a really good bit of evidence to show how we're actually working now, and we've rehearsed these discussions in another place, but one of the frustrations that we have is that the reports are all a snapshot of the past, they're not now. and we don't want to be held back for our region by constantly talking about stuff that we previously talked about when improvements have been have happened, and not just us thinking that, but evidenced, as you quite rightly point out, Kevin. So thank you for reminding anyone who's watching from government or elsewhere about actually what's going on now, because that's what matters. We're focused on now and the future. We will learn from the past, but we're not going to dwell on it unnecessarily. We're going to put our energies into making further progress. Okay, right. So thank you very much for all your comments. There's one recommendation on page 21. So in that case, can I ask all those in favour to please show now? Okay, that's carried unanimously. Thank you very much indeed. Next item is item 10, the investment fund programme. So with regards to recommendation 2, the committee notes that Councillor Bolton, Ian mentioned it earlier, has declared an interest and will not vote. Further, members will note addition of the usual wording around the steps taken if consensus is not reached at director level, which the monitoring officer will ensure is captured in the decision. So it's our usual wording. You will all understand that, but just for the public record so that they know there's a bit of wording that which should normally be there, wasn't there, and we're just acknowledging that, so it is there. All right, so I therefore move the report. Can I call for a seconder, please? Kevin, thank you very, very much. Do you wish to speak to this now or maybe later, Kevin?
Yeah, very, very briefly, thank you, Dan. 2 key points I'd like to mention is I welcome the investment of money into Visit West. Crucial. That's given it stability with its funding. I think it's really important. Bath and Bristol, we have a huge amount of tourism. Bath benefits greatly, and therefore our region benefits greatly from that. There are issues and concerns that come with mass tourism, and we see that in places around Europe. Bath is probably getting to that point where it's getting to a maximum amount of visitors. I think there needs to be something that we need to do collectively, a region, how we can manage that from an environmental perspective. But apart from that, I think the funding for Visit West is excellent. The second point is the funding for the Livable Neighbourhoods programme. We've had some excellent speakers this evening. It's nudging people in the right direction so we can create more sustainable environments for all of our residents to enjoy. So I commend the report fully. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kevin. And without preempting, Tony, tourism is very important to Bristol too, and in fact I think it's an even bigger for our economy than Bath. And we do need to get more synergy. So I'm hoping that people will feel that, you know, by combining our various attractions and benefits that help create wealth from tourism, we can make an even bigger impact and deal with some of the challenges it also raises, as Kevin's mentioned. Tony.
Just very briefly, and addressing that point that you raised, is that in Bristol we are about to launch a new working group made up of councillors from all parties to work with representatives from the cultural sector to produce a cultural strategy for Bristol. And clearly, as part of that, we'll tie that in with the cultural strategy that the West of England Combined Authority is also working on.
Yeah, fantastic, Tony. Ian, do you wish to comment on this one? No, thank you very, very much indeed. Well, look, what I'd simply say before... what I'd simply say is, look, I think that the region benefits most by collaboration and lots of communication on this, because the reach of the name Bath goes to places around the world that Bristol doesn't, and Bristol reaches in other places, and we need to work out much more effectively over the coming years how we can maximise our attraction and our appeal. And actually, if people are making the effort to come to Bristol or Bath, I would argue that they have a very good reason to just go up the tracks on the train and see some other things, and maybe even go out to South Gloucestershire too. Well, indeed, they should do that. The Aerospace Museum, if nothing else. There's lots of good things. So look, so I think that cooperation is very, very important, as has already been mentioned. Okay, so look, there are 6 recommendations, so I'm going to move them on block if that's okay. So all those in favour, please show. Okay. Thank you. Ian, you're abstaining, just to be clear on the record. Okay, that's carried in that case. Thank you very, very much indeed. Thank you for your cooperation with that one. Okay, item 11, this is delivery assurance. Now, this paper provides change requests within the investment fund and CRSTS programme. it is vital we continue to up the pace on delivery. So I'm going to move the report. Can I call for a seconder, please? Is there a seconder? Thank you, Tony. Do you wish to speak to this now or maybe later? No? Okay. You know when you know the right thing to do on this one. Anyone else wish to speak on this, please? No? No? Okay. In that case, there are two recommendations which I'll move, and the committee knows what those are. So in that case, can I ask all those in favour of the recommendation 1 to please show now? Okay, that's carried unanimously. Okay, and then all those in favour of recommendation 2, please show now. Okay, and that's also carried unanimously, I think. That's right, yes? Okay. Thank you very much. The next item is item 12, scaling investment for climate and nature. And I can see Roger, one of our fantastic officers on this, up at the back, no doubt glowing in the praise that you heard earlier. I hope he is. Okay, so look, this is an important matter. Kevin said it was important to him, certainly very important to me. I know from my discussions with Tony, he feels the same way, and so does Ian, among others. There is a climate emergency. Whatever, Mr. Rees-Mogg might have said, or Donald Trump says, or whatever, that's the reality. The evidence is overwhelming. It's not just overwhelming now, it's been overwhelming for years. I mean, it's absolutely been incredible. So look, this is an important paper, and tackling the climate and biodiversity crisis, therefore, are vital. But we are a long way from meeting targets. I think it's fair to say. I think we'd be deceiving ourselves if we didn't recognise that. So this paper commits us to invest £10 million to attract a further £90 million, so 100 million in total, of investment to create jobs in important local net zero industries. The fund is a big vote of confidence in the potential of our amazing region to be a leader in renewable energy and green technology. The West of England is leading the way. I'm proud of that. And my message to investors is to come and be part of the green revolution that this region is utterly committed to. And that's not just the politicians around this table and others around this table that feel that way. That is the will of the people. We are a progressive area when it comes to the environment. This is something that we are reflecting through the ballot box, and we want that investment from wherever it comes, whether that's government or the private sector or anyone else for that matter, because we believe this is so important, and we will work very hard and cooperate with whoever wants to come forward to be part of that, to make sure that we achieve these very, very important objectives. So in that case, I will move the report. I'm delighted to do that. Can I ask for a seconder, please? I suspect we can have triple seconding on this one. So seconded by everybody. Who would like to speak on this? In no particular order. Tony, you go first, because I think you've followed everybody else on the previous items.
Thank you very much. I think, as you said, this is a very important report, a very important opportunity. I had the pleasure last night of speaking to a room full of some 70 people, every single one of which was making it clear that this was something that was so important. And let's be honest, just saying, I hope you're going to vote for this. And I didn't want to preempt my vote, but clearly I am.
You kept them dangling, did you? Okay.
But given the well-known financial challenges to local government funding faced by those up and down the country, we are supportive of this approach and the ability to increase investment in net zero, which should directly help us to achieve our goals both as a city and as a region. I think the establishment of this fund is a significant milestone in the ongoing work that both Bristol City Council and our surrounding authorities and the combined authority have been working on. And in Bristol in particular, that's been through the Net Zero Investment Co-Innovation Lab. I'd like to thank all the officers from the combined authority and the unitary authorities who have worked hard to develop and finalise these proposals. This fund promises significant benefits to Bristol as well as the rest of the region in terms of job growth, carbon savings, and it also supports our net zero commitments. As I said, this investment is hugely welcome, and we would support further exploration and discussion of how to further unlock investment for issues of nature recovery and climate resilience as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Tony. I mean, what I'd simply add before I ask for other comments is, look, this is a decision that we're making on a principle point. You know, I've talked to you lots of times, Jerome, and did you, Paula, as well. This is something that matters, but it's also self-interest, because we have amazing skills, not least from our aerospace industries and other areas, that are directly transferable to the green agenda. So it's in our own interest. It's not just doing the right thing. It actually is very beneficial to appropriate and sustainable and morally and ethically sound wealth creation, which is important, not just for the environment, but also is the way that we pay for the NHS and all the other things that people quite understandably are anxious about and want to have happen. So I'm really, really excited about this, because I think it gives our region a real key role in making a big difference on so many levels. Ian, why don't you go next, and then I'll call Kevin then.
Thanks, Dan. I think we all are very mindful of the fact that the scale of investment that's required to meet our climate and nature emergencies is estimated to be more than £24 billion. So we really need to move on a funding model that works for us, which obviously can't be delivered by the combined authority or the wider public sector on its own. So this recommendation marks the start of this process, and it's an important process. It's a sort of existential crisis that we're facing here. I just want to welcome the work and the collaboration that has gone on into developing this proposal over the last few months. And again, I think it's important to repeat it. It is another example of what can be done when we work together. It's fantastic work. So thank you to all the officers that have been working on this.
Thank you, Ian. Kevin.
Thank you, Dan. I don't want to start on a downer, but unfortunately I will. It's quite clear that this region, as well as all other regions in the UK, are not on track to meet our net zero obligations for 2030. And we're also in a position where we're not reversing the decline in nature as well. There's a very interesting article about the decline of butterflies recently that I think most people have seen. But local government has shown strong leadership in tackling the climate and ecological emergency. Declarations from all of our authorities and the work done by WECA are impressive. However, they're only touching at a very, very difficult topic. It's an uphill battle in the context of ever deeper cuts from government, and I'm hoping the new government will reverse them. And this is despite diligent authorities such as our own working ridiculously hard, but we are fighting an uphill battle. That's why I very much welcome this paper, Dan. It aims as a combined authority to bring together some significant financial firepower as a region. The combined authority proposes to explore how we can unlock private sector funding, which I think is key, of up to 24 billion, which is, a phenomenal sum of money, which should make a huge difference. It's the kind of ambition we need as a local region to achieve these goals, which, as I said before, is the most important thing facing us and the generations to come. So I very much welcome this report. Although it needs to be subject to some due diligence, and therefore I do strongly support the new fund and welcome the opportunity to create, I think, probably up to 9,000 green jobs, I think is in the paper, which is a significant sum of money. So I hope we can do that, but we need to be diligent and monitor it very closely and not just let it slip as a piece of paper. We need to pay close attention to it.
I think we'll all agree with that, Kevin. Thank you. Okay, right. I think everyone's commented who wants to. Anyone want to come back on anything they've heard? No? Okay. In that case, we've got 5 recommendations which we will vote on in turn. Recommendation 1, those in favour please show. Thank you, that's carried unanimously. Recommendation 2, again, those in favour please show now. Okay, that's carried unanimously too. Recommendation 3, ditto, those in favour please show now. That's carried unanimously. Recommendation 4, those in favour please show now. That's carried unanimously. And the final recommendation, recommendation 5, please can you show now if you're in favour. Thank you, that's also carried. Thank you very, very much indeed. I think there's a strong message going out there that we are as one on this. This is hugely important, and we are very much welcoming investment wherever it may come from, because we take this very seriously and we want to work with partners who share that conviction. Okay, right, the next item is item 13, the Best Value Notice and Transformation Programme. So a lot has changed since the Best Value Notice was issued. This committee has changed with new leaders and new senior management. I think it's only Kevin that I recognise who's been around a little while, and even Kevin wasn't there when I started as mayor for a short period. So there's been a lot of change, lots of different things going on, which I think have been very positive in the round. The panel has met and the formal work has now kicked off, and this paper is an update, and I'm hopeful that we will see this as problems we used to have, as I mentioned before, and are moving away from, and we can soon remove the notice and move forwards together for the benefit of our brilliant region. It is an amazing place. We had a positive first panel meeting, which was referred to earlier on. So in that case, can I formally move the recommendation which is for noting today? Can I call for a seconder? Is there someone who wishes to second? Thank you, Ian. Would you like to speak to this, Ian?
Yes, thank you, Dan. As you say, it is really pleasing to see the positive progress that is being made. We are all committed to this reset that the Combined Authority has needed. Note some of the comments in the Solace report, particularly where it says it may be premature to close some key actions and assume that they will be delivered through business as usual activities. This is on page 238. The actions, namely, are PS1 relating to the MCA's core role and purpose, GS1 relating to the Constitution, and GS3 relating to assigning leader portfolios. So there is some work still to be done on that. We acknowledge that. We shouldn't be afraid to keep those actions on the table in the spirit of resetting our relationship and always doing better, getting better. So I'm really pleased to see that all the closed actions are still being retained in the report at Appendix 2, because we need to remain mindful of them. To show that we're serious. This isn't just a tick box exercise. We're serious about resetting the relationship and getting things right. Wonder if the BVN panel could advise the committee when they believe the key actions in the transformation programme could be closed, so that we've got that independent oversight as well on that, just to reassure us that we're getting there, as I say, not being afraid of keeping these actions on the table until we're all satisfied with there. So really happy to support this, and I think this is positive for our region.
Thank you, Ian. Tony.
Yeah, I think there has been clear improvements to the functioning of the Combined Authority. But there is still some work we can all do. I think all of us want the Combined Authority to work as well as possible to maximise the benefit to our residents. The Best Value Notice panel have agreed to progress actions as quickly as possible. So there'll be another meeting next month, I believe. And I think we should also take the opportunity to benefit from the expertise and experience of that panel over the coming months, because as you mentioned, Dan, some of us are relatively new, and we should be prepared to learn as much as we can from experienced councillors when we have the opportunity to make use of their time.
Very good points, Tony. Thank you. Kevin.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. It's really positive that the first meeting of the Best Value Improvement Panel took place earlier this month, and the panel seemed very committed to helping the Combined Authority resolve some of its difficulties. I am a little bit concerned the paper is proposing to close a number of actions which we will regularly receive updates on this committee. So I'm hoping that the Best Value report will also come back on a regular basis to this committee, so the public can see what we're talking about. Subject to those reservations, I'm happy with the report, and I'm delighted that the Best Value panel seem to be committed to helping us improve some of the areas that I still believe we have difficulties on. However, it should be formally noted that there's been significant progress on the way that the Combined Authorities work as a team with the West of England, and that is borne fruit with the growth plan that we just spoke about earlier. But that's not to say that there are some constitutional issues that still need to be looked at. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Kevin. Well, we're being asked to note the report, isn't it? So there's no vote. So can I just have your nods if you've noted it, so that we can all see that we've noted it? Thank you very much indeed. Great. Okay, item 14 now, bus improvement options. Now, some residents in the West of England enjoy an excellent bus service, I'm pleased to say, but in other places it's certainly more challenging. The new government is proposing changes to bus legislation, so that's a good thing, and a great moment in time for us to ensure that we have a robust evidence base on which to make future decisions. That's really important. The paper also sets out associated actions that need to take place to ensure the region can successfully deliver bus improvement. This includes looking at a passenger transport executive like Transport for London, for example. So look, important bit of work, important we discuss this now. I'll move the report. Can I call for a seconder, please? Tony, thank you very much. Do you wish to speak to this now?
Just very briefly,
Thank
because I think we all know that improvement in our buses is a key priority for residents across the region, and that was very clearly highlighted by some of the statements tonight, and also some of the statements at the last meeting. And I'm sure other members of the committee have inboxes like mine, which often have references to buses not turning up or not arriving on time. We obviously look forward to seeing the detail of the government's Better Buses bill, hopefully in early 2025, and hope that we can be in a good position at that stage to explore options, including bus franchising. But I think that all of us are clear that what's being made clear to us by our residents and our constituents is that there is patience is beginning to be exhausted, and I think we do need to look at providing a timeline for the actions to actually happen. I realise that, you know, it's not easy, it's never been easy. Different authorities have been looking at it for a long time, but I think we are starting to exhaust the patience of the residents of Bristol and the West of England Combined Authority, and we do need to look at setting some timelines for delivery.
Okay, thank you, Tony. Ian, would you like to speak?
Yes, thanks, Dan. Again, we'll be supporting this wholeheartedly. It's much needed work. All I put on record is our expectation, given the way that we are working in our reset relationship, is that members and officers from all the constituent councils are fully engaged in the conversation from the outset, and that we jointly commission this work to assess all the available options. This is something that we all get in our mailbox about the issues around public transport, and it's something we all have a voice that needs to be heard, and I really do believe that we're in a position on the combined authority for ensuring that everyone's voice can be heard.
Thank you, Ian. Kevin.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. All members of the public are probably aware this paper's been a long time coming, but I do welcome it. It's important we look at franchising and all the opportunities that come with franchising. We've seen benefits around the country. Manchester, a great example. It recommends in the paper a public transport executive. I welcome that, but I would put that with a caveat. The governance and scrutiny of that panel needs to be watertight. And needs to be set up very clearly before I would approve it being set up. The governance of bus service management and funding across the region has been far too complex for too long. It's failed local authorities, it's failed residents, and it's also failed the bus companies as well. The only thing I think it's benefited is the shareholders of those bus companies. So that needs to change. We're aware that the allocation of £3 million to the Birthday Bus Scheme, which was submitted this month, was submitted without prior sight of the unitary authorities. I personally would have found different ways to spend those £3 million, and that's why I think that having a transparent public transport executive is a better way of managing public money on transport, because it takes away the politics from a very vital service. Overall, therefore, I'm happy to support this long overdue paper. Thank you, Dan.
Thanks very much, Kevin. So I'm resisting the temptation to talk about birthday buses because I know you've never been behind it, but it has proved very successful. Okay, so look, what I want to say, therefore, is that we've got two recommendations. The first recommendation, actually, before I do that, as I said before on a previous item, there's some wording that we need to put in. It's the usual wording relating to if there is any contention. It's, as I mentioned before, and our lawyer here is aware of that, and will make sure that the wording is in there. You will all understand, but just for the public, just to be clear. So there are two recommendations. The first recommendation, can I ask for all those in favour to show now, please? That's carried unanimously. And the second recommendation, can those who wish to indicate now who are in favour, please show? Okay, that's also carried unanimously. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, we're moving on to item 15, transport infrastructure projects. Now, this paper takes forward key transport schemes, seeks to extend the micromobility contract with Tier Dot and renew arrangements as to the accountable body for the Western Gateway. As earlier, our monitoring officer is ensuring the escalation point is recorded again. So therefore, I move the report. Is there anyone who wishes to second, please? Thank you. Ian, do you wish to speak to this?
Just say again, really pleased to support this recommendation. Our region vitally needs a mass transit solution. We all know this, and that needs to be a core element of the growth plan. It's important that it needs to be efficient and cost effective, and also make the most of the emerging technology. And this is an important piece of work. Happy to support it.
Thank you very much. Tony?
Again, very briefly, pleased that this project is progressing so that we can continue the work to look at solutions to tackle our transport capacity constraints and facilitate the necessary step change in public transport connectivity in the region. Bear in mind it does have to integrate with also providing a reliable and decent bus service as well to support it. And I think it's important that we do keep this work under review and allow ourselves to be led by the evidence. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tony. Kevin?
Again, Dan, very briefly, just to point out the micromobility scheme has been a huge success in Bath and North East Somerset, and we're keen to expand it and give more residents access to e-bikes and e-scooters. And I'm also pleased to expand the mass transit conversations between the corridor between Bath and Bristol, because I think that is really important.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin, and thank you for highlighting the success of that scheme, because it has been important. A lot of work went into it. Combined authority officers, I know, worked very, very hard to negotiate it and get it in place, and it is proving to be doing many positive things in the way that we hoped and intended. Okay, right, now I think I'm right in saying we have 3 recommendations. So in that case, I'll go to recommendation 1. All those in favour, please show now. Thank you, that's carried unanimously. Recommendation 2, the same. If you're in favour, please show now. That's carried. And recommendation 3, all those please show now who are in favour. I could have tricked you and said against, but I didn't. So can you just all in favour just show again, please? Thank you very much. That's carried unanimously. Okay, item 16. This is the Mayoral Combined Authority and Mayoral Budget Forecast 2024-25. So finally, I move the budget forecast recommendations. Can I please call for a seconder? Thank you very much indeed, Kevin. Do any members wish to speak to this item? No? Okay, that doesn't surprise me. So in that case, there are 3 recommendations. I'll take recommendation. Should I do them all together?
1 and 2 are for noting.
Sorry?
1 and 2 are for noting.
Oh, 1 and 2 are for noting. Thank you for that, pointing that out. Okay, so we will go straight to recommendation 3. Those in favour, please show now. Okay, that's carried unanimously. And please, could you, by nodding or whatever you do, indicate that you have noted the first 2 recommendations. Thank you very much. Yes, I take that as the case. Anyone speak against it now? Otherwise, that's it. In that case, can I thank everybody who's attended here today, either in person or online, for coming along. Thank you for everybody who's contributed in various ways. Thank you to all the officers that work so hard and their organisations to make these things happen. And I wish you a very safe journey home. And thank you for your contributions. Thank you.